Hey guys, and welcome back to the HobbyDude 007 channel. Over the last few days, I've watched a couple of videos, actually several videos, on a new group build, and I know what you're saying already. I had mentioned before the first of the year, really, that I was this year going to have to cut back on the group builds, other than one or two that I had committed to pretty much annually, because it was cutting into the stuff that I really wanted to get onto for myself. And of course, I've got some builds for Atlanta this year, as well as to finish up a couple. And you know, time just But and I made a comment that I'm not gonna. I probably, with no disrespect to anyone else, gonna kind of back off on some of the group builds. Well, as Jason put it, that went right out the window. So they started one, or Jason mentioned one, that it's right up my alley, guys, and it just gave me that nudge that I needed for a particular project. But Jason over at Blue Ox Model Shop and Mike at Scale Model Outlaw teamed up to host the Saturday night short track group build. Now, this is not a NASCAR group build. It is a group build that is just for those Saturday night warriors around the country, and we all have them in our area. And you know, that's where I started. The first team I worked for was on a short track every Saturday night. And of course, I grew up, if you recall, at the drag strip with my uncle and my dad, and just, so I've been around racetracks, but this is round track. And those Saturday night warriors that you gotta love, that they work a job during the week. And the first guy I worked for owned a paint contracting company, and he painted houses inside and out during the week, and then raced on Saturday night very successfully too, I might add. I was very blessed to be on a very successful team, and I learned a lot about stock car racing on these short tracks. But this gave me a little nudge in that direction. So I want to say to Mike and Jason, thank you very much for hosting this. There's two particular cars that we ran that I wanted to do some replicas of over the years. I've got pictures, all that stuff, and I just never had that push to do it. Well, thank you. You've nudged me in that direction. Well, you've kicked me in that direction now. So I'm actually kind of eager and looking forward to it. So let me get the camera turned around, and I'll give you a little background on the short track that I started off on, as well as one of the two cars I really want to do. And I know this group build is started on May 1st, and it goes until May 1st of next year. So it's a whole year. So if any of you other content creators, anybody want to just jump in and join in on it, by all means. If you've got any local, and by the way, this is late model sportsman, hobby classes, street stock, asphalt, dirt. It doesn't matter. If it's a local every Saturday night race car, that's what they want to see. Staying away from the NASCAR circuit type stuff. Just your Saturday night warriors. So let me get the camera again turned around, and I'll show you what I've got in mind. Hey guys, before we get to the short track build, I want to share something with you. If you recall a couple of videos back, I got a gift from Bob Seats, and Bob, thank you again so very much for these puzzles. He had sent a couple of Richard Petty puzzles, and Amanda loves puzzles. So we broke out the table, started doing this over a couple of nights, and she and I wrapped it up, and it was some good time together. We put some music on and put a puzzle together. You see her putting the last piece in right here, and this was a fun little puzzle, and we're going to get that mounted up on a piece of card stock poster board, and we're going to get that frame worthy. We're going to take it up and have it signed, and we're already working on the second one, so I'll be sharing that one with you when it's done too. But Bob, thanks again, bud. Really appreciate it. It means a lot. Now, my history and the short track that I want to focus on for this group build is the Greenville Pickens Speedway. Some of you may have heard of it, some of you may not. Greenville Pickens has been around a long time, and actually, I can't say the Speedway was my first, I guess, introduction to short track racing or stock car racing, because it was actually, my first experiences were in the shop, in the garage. But can you believe all the time, the years that I went by and spent in the shop? I never took any pictures in there, just at the racetrack. But Greenville Pickens Speedway was opened in 1940, and in the late 1960s, I think it was 69, or late 69, it was paved. It was dirt up to that time. And even in the dirt era, you had track champions like David Pearson, Ralph Earnhardt. You had a lot of guys that were champions, and Ralph Earnhardt was also, I think, a champion in the on the asphalt too. But you had a lot of big names. Jeff Hawkins, I think he had more track championships than about anybody. But Greenville Pickens has been around a long time. And in fact, in 1970, typically we think of the Daytona 500 in 1979 as being the first flag-to-flag coverage. And for the most part it was, but actually the very first Cup race, flag to flag, was a 200-lap event, and you can find it on YouTube at the Greenville Pickens Speedway, the newly paved Greenville Pickens Speedway. Here you can see the starting grid. You had David Pearson in a 70 Torino on the pole, Bobby Isaac on the outside pole, Benny Parsons in the yellow Ford on the inside, Richard Petty on the outside, and you see a lot of the other big names back through the field. And this race it's a pretty good race if you watch it, between David Pearson and Bobby Isaac. There's your front row right there, and they ran neck and neck about the whole race. Richard had to make a pit stop, and I don't know if it was handling or what it was, but he got behind. I think he ended up fourth or fifth, I think, somewhere in there. And again, Bobby Isaac came away with a win. But from going to Greenville Pickens as a spectator and then as a crew member, I met and saw a lot of big names race. Tiny Lund, Neil Castles won one night there. Here's a shot of Dick Trickle. This was a sad thing because Dick got there, qualified well, and had in one of the practices before the main, had some type of major, apparently, engine problem, and didn't even get to start the main. And of course, somebody that I was privileged to work with and know very, very well was Butch Lindley, who I hate we lost Butch, but Butch was also a track champion there at Greenville Pickens, and also I think back-to-back 76 and 77, I think it was, or 77, 78 was the what would be it was just before the Busch Series, but it was the back then the Sportsman Series, and won the national championship. And just a bunch of guys. I don't even know if I could name them all that I've seen there. And a lot of the Cup teams, Dale Earnhardt, Darrell Waltrip, Rusty Wallace, a lot of guys used to come and practice for the short track racing. And by the way, Greenville Pickens is a half a mile. It's not really banked very much. It's a pretty flat track. So it's you got to set up for handling just right for it. But it's since 1940, it was always a popular racetrack. Sadly, and this is pictures from last year. Sadly, it's on the market right now. I heard a rumor actually just this morning, or not a rumor, but I was told it was true this morning, that Dale Earnhardt Jr. Had made an attempt to buy it. Now, I don't know any of the particulars on that or not, but boy, wouldn't that be cool. And you see on the wall back down the stretch there, all your track champions in the Sportsman Series, your top series, their names are in the white sections all the way around the racetrack, and the dates of their championships. So pretty cool stuff. I hope that if it sells and when it sells, it'll be reopened and will continue. But you know, There's a lot of this old stuff going away. Now, it was from, I think, 1970 on till last year, sanctioned by NASCAR. And to be a mechanic there, even though this group build is not NASCAR, it's Saturday night. But even for these Saturday night warriors, we had to have a NASCAR license to be in the pits or in the track. So my first NASCAR license, and I've shared this with you before, was from 1977. And the orange thing there is my very, very first pit pass. You got a different one. They were different colors every week and different numbers, and you had to sign in, and it was a process. And in 1977, 78, 79, the NASCAR, and this is a mechanics license, excuse me, mechanics license, these were $40, and I think they're 120 now. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and check that. But you got some other perks with this. You got the NASCAR newsletter every week. You got a jacket at the end of the year. There were some nifty little perks. But I worked for a gentleman, a driver by the name of Lonnie Perkle, who owned Perkle Painting. And like I said, he was a paint contractor. And they did inside, outside, any kind of painting you can think of. And he had crews that worked for him. And this was one of our cars. We also had a Nova, and I'll show you a picture of that a little later too. But the Camaro we ran at Greenville Pickens, and this thing was nicknamed Darth Vader. I'll show you a little something in a minute. It was, I think, the only black race car at that time at the racetrack, because everybody either had white, orange, red, just all kinds of other colors. But this one was our car for the 77, 78 season, and it was a monster. And if you notice right on the C-pillar there, the little decal right in front of the yellow stripe, that is a head of Darth Vader. You see it right there. So it was a good looking car. I always liked it anyway. And like I said, we were a competitive team. Lonnie had won the previous years, a couple of races each year, and this year was going to be a good year for us. This car had a Laughlin chassis. I'll get into a little bit more about the body work and all that a little bit later, because we did all that stuff ourselves. And here's a picture of the team. Lonnie's in the car, and then the 7 of us standing around there. That's the crew. And I spent every night, just about every night and every afternoon, sometimes up to midnight, over at the shop. We were doing something. Well, that's what it takes to be competitive. And by the way, if you can pick me out in this lineup of thugs, I love these guys, put it in the comments. Here's a newspaper article on that car, that the Camaro. We had gotten tangled up in a little bump up in a heat race, and we were leading, and got tangled up and spun around, and it broke the track bar. And so we dashed in, jacked up the back end, jumped under, welded that thing back on, not knowing if it was going to hold or not. Went back out, and as you see the last sentence there, we not only made the feature event, the top event, but we won. Great memories, guys. Great memories indeed. And this next one here was a picture from the Birmingham International Raceway, and here's Lonnie actually leading Red Farmer, Jody Ridley, and right behind Jody was Donnie Allison, who eventually won the race. We had something haywire. We ended up in and back out of the pits, and I think we still ended up 3rd or 4th in this race, and it was like a double feature thing. And in the second race, we didn't fare well at all. We got tangled up down in the first turn. But hey, it was a lot of fun, and to know that you could run up front with these guys, hey, that says something. And so this is one of the cars that I'm thinking about doing is Darth Vader, the black with the red orange and kind of a poppy red and yellow stripe. And here's a look at the Nova. Love these cars. Now after we moved on, Lonnie moved on from our team and went over to several guys had moved around. But he went to drive for Aaron Adams out of Atlanta, and this was one of our favorite cars too. And there was two cars that you'll see the pictures of on this one. This Mustang, this is a 70 Mustang, and or I beg your pardon, a 69 Mustang, and this thing was just evil fast too. And you see Lonnie there. And this was a very competitive and a winning car quite often too. Former driver on this one was Johnny Allen, and he was also a track champion and a big name in NASCAR. And I just always thought this Mustang was just a really sharp car. And you notice too on all these cars, we were running Firestone tires back then. And most of them were track treads. But is that not just a good looking race car? You'll see some of it in the shop here in a few minutes. But again, a very, very competitive race car. And that number 17 Camaro behind Lonnie right there is Jerry Hughes. And Jerry was a former track champion too, and just a cool guy. Now this is the 1971 Mustang, and with the release of these new 1971s, I'm really kind of thinking about this. I like that 69, but and I may stick with a 69. I'm not sure yet. And the rest of these pictures are of the 71 Mustang, and again a super competitive one. This was one afternoon we were practicing, and notice even in the afternoon before it got into the time for qualifying or heat races or mains or any of that kind of stuff, look how many people are in the stands already, even before and this is early in the afternoon. But that wasn't uncommon. You had a decent amount of people that would show up for these. Is that not just a cool picture? Again, the 71. I'm swaying toward this one, guys, but I understand this is the first annual, so I'm going to have an opportunity to do more. And here she is in the shop. Absolutely a beautiful, beautiful car. But whichever one I go with, I'm so fond of Darth Vader, I'm kind of wanting to do that. But guys, I love this Mustang. So I'm actually swaying toward the 71. I don't know, it might end up being the 69, but we'll see. We'll see. But whatever I do, I'm going to end up probably making my own chassis. If you remember my video on scratch building a chassis, this one is a Laughlin. But I'm thinking about using some parts. Well, I'm not thinking about using some parts. I'll definitely be using some parts out of the Super Stalker series cars. There's a few things in here that I really, really like. So I'm probably going to be doing that. And if you've never built one of these, this is actually a good short track stalker. It really is. But like I said, at this moment, I'm swaying toward the Mustang a little heavier. But if I do the Mustang, I'll go back and do the Camaro next year. Or if I do the Camaro, I can do the Mustang next time. But they're all just cool to me. There's a lot of those Saturday night racers that I absolutely love. Some of Butch's cars that I think these first ones meant a lot more to me because they were the first ones. And man, I remember crawling all over these things, and they were just good race cars, just good race cars. And guys, if you want to jump in on this and you don't have a car, head over to HobbyNut Models, check out Mark's inventory, see what you can dig up there. I'm sure you'll be able to find something that you can even convert to a Saturday night stalker. Like I said earlier, whether it's street stock, hobby, bomber, heck, demolition derby. If it's a Saturday night racer, that's what the guys want to see. But I'm kind of excited about this one, so I look forward to getting into it. Guys, I guess that's about it for the moment. Again, if you want to jump in, hey, let Jason and Mike know, and have fun with it. All right, guys, God bless. See you in that next video. Later, guys.